Good evening and welcome to tonight's show, All Interest. My name is Ana Hernandez Valencia, and today we're interviewing today Phyllis Solis Friederich, local author of the top-rated book, College Survivor. Phyllis is a Texan, but she lives in Iowa currently. She has a family. She used to work in the corporate arena, and she has written this book. Welcome, Phyllis. How are you today?
I am. What a great pleasure to be here. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What inspired you to write this book, College Survivor?
My children.
Okay.
My children. Essentially, I have two children that are college bound. Mm-hmm. And I began the process of researching for my children. And it evolved into some folders, then a 3-ring binder, then a workshop for friends. And then my colleagues said, this information should turn into a book. And I said, well, no way. And they said, oh no, you need to turn this into a book. But there was one evening that I would like to tell you about.
Yeah, please inform us.
I call it the little white bag. Mm-hmm. So there was an evening that I went to a college night, where you are presented by all of the colleges for your college-bound child, and they give you a lot of information, and you put it in this little white bag. So there's gold in this little white bag. Tremendous information, who, what, where, when, but it doesn't teach you how.
Exactly.
So I get home, and this bag. Here I'm college educated. I've graduated from Texas A&M, and I conquered the college system back then. I'm going to help my children. I'm bound and determined. And that little bag gave me fear. So I put it in the corner of my living room, and it collected dust for a long time. And then one day, my light bulb went off, and I said to myself, "Wait a minute. I've been properly trained in corporate America, and I have skills and a way of producing things and pulling things together." So I took my corporate training and I developed how, and that's what College Survivor is all about. It teaches you how. The other resources in this country that are available are magnificent, don't get me wrong. They give you great information, but they don't teach you how. So whenever I have workshops with my parents and my students, they are very overwhelmed and they have fear. In fact, in the back of my book, I have face, everything, and run, which spells fear, or face, everything, and rise. So on that day, I decided to face everything and rise. That was my choice. And so I took my skills and everything that I learned from my corporate days, and I designed a strategy. And that's our chapter 15, which is called College Survivor Strategy. And it teaches you step-by-step how. Not only that, we support it with an interactive website, and we gave it a name. We call it the University of Success. The two work together. The book is your blueprint, and it's blue.
Yeah.
The book is your blueprint. It is actually somewhat like a workbook, and it teaches you how. It has about 9 chapters for life skills, and then it also teaches you how, step by step. But then when you go to our interactive website, we have all of our tools necessary to support the book.
Now, I had a question. So you said this little white bag when you had attended a college day. I know there are many parents who are intimidated by this information, this massive information. Now, obviously, your book and your site will help them. How can parents overcome that? What makes them just kind of be intimidated by this process, and how can they overcome this?
Well, if my recommendation for parents who have fear and say they take that step and they buy the College Survivor book and they just want to begin and they don't know where to begin, I would start with chapter 3, which is our myth and misconception chapter. It's very powerful in the fact that with every chapter that I wrote, it has something to do with my life. and questions that I had as a student, things that I overcame as a student, and questions that I had as a parent. But I will mention this. When I have my workshops, and I will start with the myth and misconception chapter on purpose, because the parents and the students are very tense. Eye contact is not there. We're missing sparkle. Our posture is off. And then when I present the myth and misconception chapter in just a few moments, we see sparkle, and then we see hope. Hope was lost, and then all of a sudden it comes back, and then they're ready. And see, perception is reality. So if a person has a certain perception that my student can't do this, and then fill in the blank, that is their reality. And so after the end of a workshop, every time I will ask, what was your favorite chapter? What was your favorite presentation? And they will always say, I felt at ease and I felt so confident after you conquered the myths and misconceptions, fact versus fiction. And that is the response that I always get from the parents.
Okay.
So it's actually a re-education, because we all have perceptions that are our reality, and we live with those. But if you can recorrect a perception that is not true, then it helps you think in a more of a positive light. And it sets the stage and prepares the students and the parents emotionally and with confidence, and it gets into their passion. And us Latinas, we have that passion. So, oh yes, watch that happen. So yes, it's a very powerful chapter. So that, to answer your question, yes, re-educating, motivating, inspiring. Just that one little chapter will help you get back on your track and scoot away some of those thoughts that you might have that might be negative. Just that one little chapter, and then you can proceed forward.
Now, what is the one misconception that some people might have about applying for college? Because I used to be a college admissions officer, and sometimes parents say, I couldn't find any scholarships. It's solely based on income, and because it's based on income, I might make too much. What do you say to that?
There's a couple of situations. Traditionally, parents will say, my child does not qualify for any scholarships for whatever reason that may be. They'll say, well, they don't have straight A's. They're not the valedictorian. Or all the scholarships go to all the athletes. Or all the scholarships go to minorities.
Yes.
There's always a fill in the blank, and that is so untrue. Actually, with regarding scholarships, they start in kindergarten.
Really? How so?
They start in kindergarten.
Oh, okay.
And they're starting kindergarten, and they go all the way through grad school, professional school, and beyond.
Wow, okay. Well, how long did it take you to research for this book? I know you said you started when your daughter was going into college. And obviously, the time between that you were in college and when your daughter started, there's some differences.
Correct.
So did that inspire you? And is that when you started obtaining some of your research? How did that occur?
Well, actually, my perception at the beginning was that I'm going to find this whole new world. And it's going to be completely different from when I graduated from college 30 years ago. And what I found through my research is students are still students, parents are still parents. The only thing that's changed is technology. And that is a big difference. We still have the generation gap, just like I had with my parents had with their parents. But the only difference is technology, honestly. So when I went to go research and look for information to help my children as a parent, I had previously done it as a student, and now I was researching as a parent for my kids. And I was finding that we still live in the same collegiate world that we lived in 30 years ago. It's just technology is now a factor in terms of proceeding forward with college. However, I will mention this, and this is really interesting. When I was researching for my children, where's the first place that you start? You start on the web. So you type in, oh, there's 1 million scholarships on this website. All right, oh great, I'm gonna put my information in. What, 5 scholarships? Where's my 1 million scholarships? So I was very frustrated with the website, or the World Wide Web. And so I started ordering books. I went to Amazon, started ordering books, and I'd look through a book and I'd say, that's great information, but you still haven't taught me how. So I put that away. Then I opened up another book. I just kept ordering books, and I would skim through it, and you said the same thing the other book said. Well, you said something else here, and you still haven't taught me how. So I got more and more frustrated. And then finally, I found a book. I ordered a digest of scholarships. And the world opened, and my light bulb went off. Now, this is great information again. And so that's where we began to develop the College Survivor strategy. How am I going to organize this? How am I going to decide which ones are best for me? How am I going to apply myself for these scholarships? How am I going to execute the process? And how am I going to review? And that's how that all came about. Simply as a mom, frustrated with the internet, going to books, and then the light bulb coming off, and then the strategy happened.
Okay. Now, another thing too, as I have spoken with parents in the past, and I know we had discussed this as well, how sometimes the students will say, I can't find any more scholarships. And then that they tell the parents that they can't find any more scholarships. And they throw in the towel. How do they get over that? How do they get re-inspired and find that hope that there are scholarships out there, but they can't throw in the towel right away?
Okay. Great. Super question. I'm so glad that you asked that. Because I can tell you, there are scholarships for everything. Just because you don't have a 4.0 does not mean that there isn't a scholarship for you. There's scholarships for your heritage, military descendant, if your grandfather was in a specific military group and you happen to be a descendant there. Your eating habits, there's left-handed scholarships, red-headed scholarships. If you're a member of Star Trek, there's a scholarship for that.
Really?
Yes. If you want to go to the prom and make your outfit out of duct tape and you win, there's a $10,000 scholarship. There's scholarships for talent, for volunteering, extracurricular, for studying abroad. The list is so long. We could stay here all night and I could share that with you. There's also scholarships for medical situations, family situations. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Now, finding those scholarships, the best way to do that, and our core of where we begin are in these digests of scholarships. That's our start. Okay. That's where we start.
Okay, now, should a student have a prepared essay ready? Now, when they're applying these scholarships, how does that, in terms of the student having something prepared when applying for these scholarships? What are some small details that they should keep in mind when they are applying? Should they have a stump essay, or what exactly?
Honestly, a stump essay, it's good to keep your essays, especially if you had very good essays in school. Okay. Now, keep in mind, not everyone can write, okay? And that is not every student's talent. But if it is your talent, yes, hang on to your essays. But what you need before you can get started with your scholarships, you do need to have your basic information that you're going to copy paste. Okay. Just your basic information, your name, address, your parents, and all that. But you must have your student resume, not a list. You have to have a student resume ready to go. And we also teach how to do that. And you also need to have statement of purpose. And that's about you and who you are. And you're going to use that statement of purpose over and over and over. So and you don't want it to sound canned, but you want it to be very passionate in who you are and what you're about and what your mission is. And depending on the scholarship, you will tweak that every time for each one. So you need your resume and you need your letters of recommendation. Think of the best people that would give you the best recommendation. So if you're going into science, you're going to use a science teacher. If you're going into art, you're going to use your art teachers. If you're going into English, you're going to do that. Also, if you job shadowed somewhere, that's another great place to get. So those are the things that you have to have ready to go.
Okay, and there was another point there I was going to bring out, what you said about having the people who would support you and write, who know you well and would write a tremendous letter of reference. How important is it to have a very good letter of reference?
Critical. It is quite critical. But one situation here is students think that they can just send an email to, let's say, a teacher or a professor and request, would you give me a letter of recommendation? Of course they would be very happy to provide that. But you have to actually coach this reference so that they can give you the proper. So you would provide them with your student resume, all your leadership skills and everything that you've done. And then you would ask them, would you mind writing a letter of reference for me based on my character, since you know me? Here's my leadership. Here's all the clubs I've been in. Here's my GPA. All your power that you have. And that gives them something to look at and sit down and actually write an excellent letter of recommendation for you. That's how that works. Awesome. So you have to do some of the work on your side too. You can't just say, may I have a letter of recommendation? One other thing to keep in mind.
Yes.
Manners. Give them a deadline so that they can stay within the deadline, and try to make it about 3 weeks, and kindly ask for that within a 3-week period. Not using your manners properly would say, may I have it tomorrow morning?
I've actually been in the past where someone asked me the day in advance, and there was hardly any I could write. Another thing I like to add to thank you notes. So you see manners. I think people who do write the references appreciate and will recommend you more, especially if you put them down, if you provide a phone number. So thank you notes are very important, or critical, I like to say.
There's a portion I'd like to add to that, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
The
go
thank
ahead.
you note,
Yeah.
and that goes with manners. They take seconds to write. You do have to address it and put a postage stamp, and you do have to go to the post office.
Yes.
But think of this. Say you're in an essay contest, okay? And it's a really big one, and the scholarship is thousands, and you're a contender. And say there's a panel of 10 judges, and they come up with the top 50 out of, say, 500, 10%. And your name happens to be in the hat. Well, everyone in this hat is just as qualified as the next one. So how do you pick someone? And along comes this little thank you note. I just want to thank you for accepting my application for this scholarship. I'm honored that I have had an opportunity to apply. So here's this hat with 50 scholarships. And the judges might say, let's check and see if that person happens to be in our hat of 50, because we have to choose which one will be the winner. That one little thank you note could help you win a scholarship simply because of manners. And that shows that one extra step that a student has taken to garner that scholarship. That could win you several thousands of dollars. And what's a postage stamp now? 55 cents? That's a very good 55 cents.
I'd say that's quite an investment there. Excellent.
Yes.
Well, now going back to the book, how I asked you how long it took you to publish and just complete the book in its entirety, from the inception to the ending. How long did that really take you? And was that is your daughter in college? What
My daughter is in college. She's pre-med. She's going to pursue a career in pathology, and I have a son who would like to be a history teacher. So from start to finish, I would say it took me a good 6 months of really heavy-duty research and writing. Many people who write a book may take years. But for me, it did not take me that long. It took me about 6 months. Now the publishing portion, where you go to an editor and you have to be properly formatted, and then you go into the publishing process, that took about a year. But actually writing this book, since it's from a parent's perspective and a student's perspective, only took me about 6 months because it's written from the heart. Every chapter it relates to a question that I would have as a parent, or a situation that I handle as a student, and how it developed in my life, how I was mentored by others, and then how I'm mentoring my children, plus research. So it is all encompassing. It's a very passionate project, to say the least.
Yeah, and I would say it's a big success. And I just see recently that you were given a 5-star rating from an Amazon reviewer, Dr. Ellen Zimmerman.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Dr. Zimmerman is a #1 Amazon writer, or on Amazon,
yes.
5 stars, obviously. And he read my book from front to back, and he sent me a personal note via LinkedIn, and he said, this book has to be in the hands of everyone in the United States. And he said, this is what I wrote, and I'm putting it on Amazon right now as an official review.
That's quite an accomplishment. That is tremendous. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. He read it from front to back. Dr. Zimmerman, former professor and author of a book, a #1 rated Amazon book. So, highly honored. And the day that happened, I could barely breathe because it was completely uncoerced. And someone took the time to read my book from front to back and actually analyze it and what he has to say. The review is just stellar. It is absolutely stellar. I'm so honored.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. Now, for those who are going to college, we understand the importance, or those understand the importance of higher education. What about to those who don't understand or have not fully recognized the value of higher education in today's world?
Well, I'd be happy to show you.
Yeah, I'll see.
I actually brought a visual.
Okay.
Would you like to see it?
Of course.
Okay, so let me pull this out for you. The lifespan of a male is, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, excuse me, 1 second.
Just let me know if you need some help there.
Okay, I love symbolism and I love analogy. So we're going to take a look at this. Okay. What do you see, Anna?
I see some delicious treats.
You may not eat my treats. The average lifespan of a male is 76 years.
Okay.
How many months is that, Anna? Are you good at math?
No, I'm not.
It's 988 months, okay? There are 988 golden kisses in here, okay? I picked this on purpose rather than jelly beans because they're sweet and they're gold. So let's take a look at gold.
Okay.
All right. The value of an education.
Yes.
This is really important, and I'm going to show you how this works. Okay. Student 1. I can only go to, and I don't know if you can see this. Yes, you can. I can only afford to go to the community college and get an associate's degree. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that is going to take them 16 months. Here we go. 16 months for, did I get that right? That's your associate's degree. Okay? So, for the associate's degree, you're going to make $60 more than a person who does not go to college.
Okay.
A week before taxes. That's about $3,000 a year. Okay? Now the person, oh, I forgot to mention, this is 1% of your life. 1% of your life. Now, the person who decides to do the other percent, so now we're talking 2%, right, Anna?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
1 + 1 is 2.
Of course.
Always has been, always shall be.
It's a fact.
Okay, so now we have our associate's degree. Now we have our bachelor's degree. 1% of your life, another percent of your life. So when we have a student that says, I can only afford to go 2 years.
Okay.
My response is, you can't afford to not go 4 years. This is $3,000 more than a high school graduate. This is $17,500 more than a high school graduate. So this is your time.
Okay.
Time is precious.
Indeed.
Time is precious. How are you going to spend your time? Look at this. This is a lifespan, 988 months. 988 months right here of a male. Okay? Does that look like very much time? 2%?
In retrospect, no. It's minute compared to the.
This is a lot. This is from birth
exactly
until end. And so, as you can see, when you're making your decisions in terms of the value of an education, and when we take a look at value, we take a look at, well, my time is very valuable.
Definitely.
Time is very valuable. But what is the payout for your time? And as you can see, it pays to go that other 1%. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, what about, students who are like, well, that's just too much time. I mean, I love how you have the visual of showing that in reality it's not.
This is too much time? Then we put these back in your lifespan and we take away your potential earnings. And that's kind of how it works. Yes.
What about people who, something happened in college or, what can you stress to students who maybe, they started a family early or,
Mm-hmm.
Single mothers or who it's kind of hard to look beyond this?
They have blinders on.
Okay.
Okay. Something I want to say to you single parents out there. I was a single parent when I was 19 years old. I had a baby and I was doing this completely on my own. I had a cousin that taught me anything and everything about stretching the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
My family and friends scrutinized me, made fun of me, called me names, were not very nice and said, why are you focusing on education? You should have a job and you should be raising your baby. But I knew, I could see this simply because my parents taught me the value of an education since I was little. And I didn't know any other way, that the value will pay off. And I would look at this young child, and that was my motivation to press on. So single parents, I have to speak to the single parents. Single parents, your child is watching you. They're watching your actions. You don't even have to speak. They're watching how hard you're working and how determined and the effort and your passion. And they're learning by your actions. And if there was a cycle in your life where perhaps there were uneducated family members, you're breaking the cycle. And now you're teaching your child. And so they will continue the cycle and you will be their hero. And if you have a passion and a dream and goals, you should never let anything stand in your way, ever. It does not matter what other people say, simply because it is your life. And if you are raising a child as a single parent, you want to provide, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anna,
Yeah.
you want to provide the best for your child.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted to do. So I was a very poor college student, and I was hungry, I was determined, and I found a way, and I survived. And I graduated owing $2,300 from Texas A&M.
That's quite a story. I mean, that's something to, that's really inspirational. So for many of those students out there who say, have excuses, there is a way to do it. And I know Phyllis Solis Friederich, her book, it's from the heart, and she's very good at research. So
oh yes,
very research oriented. Now, getting back to the book and your book tour, because you are on book tour.
I am going back to Texas for a book tour, but I am starting in Omaha, Nebraska.
So we are launching your launching ground here.
We are launching this very second. Yes, we are.
Awesome. So tell me, when is your book tour start and where?
Well, we're going to kick it off in Omaha at our bookstore in downtown Old Market. And we're having a full champagne toast and catered event. And we have our big book with our big red ribbon, and we're going to take pictures. And we're going to make it a nice long day. And I want to make sure that I've talked to everyone who is very important. We have different people to talk to in terms of college survivors. So at 3 o'clock, I'm meeting with educators for a cup of coffee over at the Emmy's Sweets coffee shop right across the street. Come by and I will show you all the power that we have in College Survivor and how you can use it for your curriculum, because we've completely written a curriculum that you can use. Then I'll be finished with my coffee and I'll head back over to Old Bookstore, and then we'll start our champagne toast and our book signing, and then we'll have an author reveal of some of the behind the scenes on some of the chapters, which I'm very excited to talk to everybody about on what was the behind the scenes story on numerous chapters. Then about 7 o'clock, oh, I forgot to mention, we have a $500 book scholarship drawing that students who arrive throughout the whole book tour, I have another big one just like this, and whoever I pull out at the end of the book tour gets a $500 book scholarship. Plus, I have a speaking services package that I will be drawing for an Omaha school at 7 o'clock on the day. And this date is Monday, March 11th. That's our kickoff day. Other than tonight, Anna, for sure.
Well, definitely.
And then you wanted to know, we start March 20th in Texas, and we go to Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, Corpus Christi, and then we land in my hometown, which is Refugio, Texas.
Awesome. Well, you're going to go back home, and they're going to be very proud of you, I can say that. But here in Omaha, now you're meeting with some of the educators in the area as well?
I will meet with them over coffee, yes.
Excellent. That's excellent. Now, is your event, your book opening, your book signing, is it open to the public?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Parents, students, educators, mentors, nonprofits, you name it. We have a program for everybody. They are all invited to come. It's a catered event. Absolutely show up.
Oh, I will. Okay, now getting back to the student, I find very helpful and very unique is that your book works in conjunction with an online site.
Correct.
And today's generation, many of them are primarily online. What is the most advantageous features of your online site?
The most popular are items, because we have quite a bit on our online site. The most popular are calculators.
Okay.
Personalized, customized, patent pending calculators.
And when you say calculators, so this, I would assume, helps the student visualize, see the amount of money that they need, or how much they need to save. And when they see it, just like a visual, it helps.
Right.
It makes them recognize.
Yes, I can explain how
our
financial deficit calculator works.
Okay.
There's 14 questions that you answer. Very simple questions, some financial questions: how much you make at your job, where you're going to school, what's the tuition. Questions that you can answer. You don't have to do a great research. So you ask the second, that feeds into a page which is your financial deficit. and you'll see how much money you're going to make and apply 70% to your college. And then you will be able to see your expenses, your income, and you'll come up with a financial deficit. Now, that feeds into our last page, which is called the scholarship deficit calculator. So if I want to graduate debt-free, I have a financial deficit. And let's say that my financial deficit is $49,000. And what the scholarship deficit calculator will do, it's a funnel, Anna.
Yep.
It takes the big number and it breaks it down, 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 down. So it will say, you need to apply for this many scholarships until you graduate from college. And this could be a high school student, could be a college student, any level. Could be a community college student, could be a graduate school student. So it breaks it down. Here's the big number. Here's your deficit. Then it breaks it down and says, you need to apply for this many scholarships per month. Then it breaks it down again and it says, you need to apply for this many scholarships. Here's your options: 4 times a month, this number; 3 times a month, this number; 2 times a month, this number. And it'll say, if you're going to go with 4 times a month, it's going to take you 2.5 hours. If you're going to go with 3 times a month, it's going to take you this many hours. Then at the very bottom, if you select to not apply for scholarships, this is what the loans are going to cost you. And we amortize the percentage in terms of how much it would cost for a 5% loan, a 10% loan, or well, actually a 5-year loan, a 10-year loan, and a 15-year loan. And it's staggering to see how much you owe, and then since you had to take out a loan over a period of time, now you're paying not only the loan plus. And the way that it's designed is to take, parents are very frustrated and overwhelmed in terms of, I don't know how many scholarships to apply for. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to organize them. I don't know what to do. I get this all the time. So we teach how to take you from step 1 all the way through. And the scholarship organizer worksheet makes it so simple that you're given options, and say you chose to apply for scholarships 3 times a month, and you know that you only have to apply for 2 scholarships every week. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and then you're off. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and then you're off. And if you win 20% of those scholarships, because it's already calculated for you based on your financial deficit, and you're working and everything is taken into the algorithms for this calculator, you win that 20%, you're going to graduate debt-free.
Now, can you tell me the importance of making smart decisions, especially, if your in-state tuition is lower than going out-state, the type of degree you're getting, how much money you're going to make in the future. Can you tie those in together, making smart decisions?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I had to work with a family where the student would like to go across the country for a specific degree at a very prestigious school. The cost of the school was $200,000, quite a bit. The in-state school was obviously well under $100,000 and definitely achievable. And the family was struggling, and so what we were able to do, the mother was so relieved with this financial deficit calculator in the fact that she could present to her teenage child that here's the ramifications of going to this one college versus going to this college. And they were able to make an educated decision. One thing that's not included in the calculator, and it does require research, whatever field of study you're going into, you do need to know what your possible wages will be. And if your wages are this much, but the cost of education is up here, that's not balanced. And many times students will make that decision, I really want to go to this school, I really want to go to this school, but they're going to make this wage. And it's a passion that they want to have this career field. But when we read propaganda about students having this tremendous amount of debt, which is unbelievable, it's simply based on decisions and not looking at everything and coming up with a calculated plan of action. And we're able to help with that step by step. So another situation, we have another calculator called an employment calculator. And I was working with one of my students, and they were getting ready for college. And I said, so how much do you make? And they said, well, we make $9.50 an hour. Well, that's not too bad. Well, if you change jobs, do you think you would make more money? And you don't have to work more, just change jobs because you need to pay for your tuition and your food, shelter, and transportation. And I said, well, you know, this other place is hiring for $11.50, and that's starting. And they're very flexible and well-known, etc. And I asked the student, I said, how much more do you think you'll make? And they said, oh, maybe $1,000, $2,000 max. So I showed them the calculator, and the difference between what they were making and that $2 difference between by the time they walked across the stage was $14,500 was the difference.
Well, it's good to be organized and planned. You know, once they see it in front of them,
they can see it and they feel it, and then they have ownership. They have ownership. It's like before. A wage is a wage. You make it by the hour, but you can't really touch it or feel it, and it comes to you in a check. But when you see it in comparison, when you can use some of these calculators that we have, because we have several calculators, you can do A versus B, and then it makes you think, and then you want to take action, and there's where the decision process comes in.
Now, I liked what you had said about emotion, letting emotions guide your decisions and being careful of, because, you know, there's many students out there who want to get out of their state and, you know, go to an out-of-state school. And, you know, if that's their desire, then, you know, that's a good thing. But they also have to look into the costs and the possible debt that is accrued by doing so. Is that not correct?
That is very, very correct. So let's say that a student would like to travel across the country simply because they love a specific school. Okay? There's a couple of ways to go about this. You come up with a plan, and you do have to evaluate. There is cause and effect, and there's consequences for the actions of your decisions. So you could actually use these calculators and predetermine, I want to go to this school. I'm working at this job, and you put all the information in. If I go to the community college for 2 years and commute from home, I'll save $30,000 to $40,000. I can take that off of the big bill. Plus, I'm working extra in the summer, and you can input that into the calculator. And then you can find out, have I brought the bill down low enough to where I can afford it for my career field? And then you can make your decision. So to answer your question, if you have a dream of going to a specific university, is it possible? Sure, but you have to have a plan of action. You have to have a college survivor strategy. And if there is some debt involved with that, even after scholarships, you have to be prepared to, is it worth it? You have to weigh that. And we cover that in the book as well.
Excellent. And another thing too is when they graduate, it just does. The plan of action just does not stop right there. There's a plan of action.
Then you move on to your next plan, and that would be book 2.
That's book 2.
That's book number 2, because it's very frustrating, and it breaks my heart to see an educated Latino, anyone educated, working in a job that doesn't require their education. And it seems like they're lost in a little black hole, and I cannot wait to research this and find out the statistics of why and how, and provide, not only through College Survivor right now, we provide how to get you through college and not pay very much money. Okay? We say debt-free. That is if you follow everything along, because essentially a student who is very determined and has great vision and great focus can make about $15,000 to $20,000 a year in scholarships. That is true. They can. It is achievable because we've done it in our test group. It is achievable. When you break down into the funnel, it is achievable because it's in small parts. Okay? Now, after you graduate, that's part 2. And it would be nice to see these amazing college graduates in their dream jobs. There's a disconnect there. I cannot wait to research it and figure out what the problem is. Why are we stuck? Why are we stuck? And I don't have an answer for you now, but I will.
We could have a whole nother conversation on that.
We will. Wait for the second book, because then that one will be College Survivor got me through college. I don't know very much, but I don't have my dream job. Why don't I have my dream job? So we're gonna teach you how to get that dream job.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Oh yes, we will teach you how.
Now, getting back to the costs of college, some students might not know the difference between a scholarship and perhaps private loan and a government loan. Could you give a little detail on those, the differences, just for students who are in high school and might not have an idea?
Sure. We can't assume that everyone knows every component. We do have one chapter dedicated to financial aid, but we'll go ahead and summarize. Scholarships are free money. Okay, you apply. Many scholarships are not awarded simply because people don't apply. So we're talking about effort, just simple effort. Grants are typically given. A grant is also free money, and that's usually given based on income. Then we go into the land of loans, and there are numerous kinds of loans. There are subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans. The best ones are the subsidized because they're backed up by the government. Unsubsidized are through private entities. And there is one other loan called the Parent Plus loan, and that is quite expensive. When parents are trying to help, there are a lot of different ways they can help, and that's as a last resort, because the interest begins the moment you sign, not when the child graduates. It's the moment you sign. So not highly recommended, but parents do use that loan. So hopefully that explains the difference between scholarships are free, grants are free, income based, then the difference in the loans, and then there's also work study on campus. But keep in mind, work study can be great if you're in, say, you're going into pre-med, and there's a work study in the lab. That'll really help you with advancing in your career, in your field. You meet professors, what have you. So you kind of have to weigh. It doesn't pay very well, but it may help you with your career. But in terms of working, employment, you want the biggest bang for the buck. And we have several charts in there that will show the different types of employment and how it pans out over a period of time for high school and also for college, which is very, very helpful. It's quite amazing to see how much our children make at their jobs and how much they spend at the fast food.
That's for sure. So getting back to the study group that you said you had a control group that was based...
Totally controlled group.
How well did they fend in terms of obtaining scholarships?
Our test group tested all of our calculators, all of our tools on the University of Success. And in about 6 months, we were able to achieve a little over $30,000 in scholarships.
Okay. And I'm very interested in your family, too. So your daughter, was she able to obtain scholarships?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
You bet.
Now, are there scholarships when one is in school and enrolled and taking? Are there any future scholarships, or is it just basically freshman focused?
Oh no. In terms of high
scholarships
school or
college? Once you're in college, are there any scholarships like for the next semester, or for future use? Because I know when I was a college admissions officer, the majority of scholarships that I had worked with, were basically focused towards incoming freshmen. Is that true, or is that just a myth?
That's a myth.
Okay, enlighten me on that.
Scholarships are 365 days a year, every day. And scholarships can come from the university, and perhaps as an admissions person, that's what you would focus on, are the scholarships that are dedicated to the school, university, what have you. But that's almost as if living in a little town and just driving down the street, and you have 5 stores here, a really, really little small town. You have 5 stores here that you can shop at, 5 stores here that you can shop at. But if you get on the highway and go to the big city, how many stores would you find there?
Well, many stores.
And if you drove all around the United States to every city, how many stores would you find there?
Thousands.
Okay, so that's how many scholarships are available.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, and like I said, well, let me ask you something about your book, College Survivor.
Yes.
What makes you the best?
That is a very great question. I am a proud Latina. This is the only book that teaches you how. And I'm the first Latina that has ever written a book about college scholarships in the world. So I'm very proud about that. I didn't mean to do it on purpose. I just did it for my children. But actually, and we're 5 stars on Amazon, and this book is comprehensive. It covers everything. And my perspective as a parent, my perspective as a student. And actually, this, along with the University of Success, which we didn't talk about all of the other components, which is fine.
Which is the University of Success is the online.
That is the online
site that works hand in hand with the book.
We only talked about the calculators.
Yes.
So every aspect that I looked forward, that I was researching for my children, you can find in the University of Success. And I'll give you a couple examples. And we're proud. Why are we the best? There is not another college program, college guide that exists where you have how to do it. Plus, you can go online and use the tools. It's very much like weight loss.
Okay.
I want to lose some pounds, so I'm going to go to the weight loss program. They're going to give me a book and they're going to teach me how to eat, how to exercise, and what have you. And then I have this app on my phone, or I can go online and I can track. It's the same thing. It's a total program. Do you learn it in one sitting? No. It's a journey. But I will tell you, on the University of Success, we talked about our calculators. And we also have a scholarship organizer worksheet where you enter your scholarships into the database. We teach you how to do that, and it spits it out by month. And so every month you pick 8 and you apply for 6. Then when you apply, you put that information into your bank. When you win, you put that information into your bank and you watch your bank go up. And so that's all done for you. It's a domino effect in the fact that as you go in to apply for a scholarship, the algorithms in the World Wide Web will toss at you similar scholarships that you never knew existed, we never knew existed, and you add them to your database. And that's our scholarship organizer worksheet, which is customized per person. And so after a year has gone by and you have all your information in your database and you have everything by month, and you look back and you think, I didn't win one essay contest. And that is when you take a look at yourself and you say, but I won all the volunteer scholarships. I won the leadership scholarships. Now we know your power. Everyone has power in one way or another. Also, on the University of Success, we have the best of the best. So we've researched the best essay books, or how to write an essay, the best books to find scholarships that are like 1,000 pages where you can find information, the best SAT book, the best college budget. You would love this. The best apps voted by college students. Everything from time management to homework to studying to everything, rather than going and looking for an app, it's there. I added another one at the very end, best student discounts. I found discounts that I never knew even existed to save my daughter money when she was in college. Another thing, FAFSA is huge and intimidating and quite overwhelming. So I took about 25 questions for FAFSA and have a link to the answer. So all you have to do is click. So if you have that question, you can just click. And then we have, the list is endless. It's all my research that I did for my kids. Every time, the reason I wrote the calculators, because I got so tired of pulling out Excel spreadsheets and trying to figure this out and figure out this and that. And so I'm just going to write a program, and I did. And so that works perfectly. And then, so all the research in the University of Success, I want to know how to help my child here. Oh, I'm frustrated with FAFSA. What are the questions? So I wrote all the questions, had all the links. So every question that I had as a parent is on there. It's a one-stop shop.
Now, what would you say, in our closing segment here, what would you say to the student who, they're in high school and they're senior, and I don't know what I want to do, and it's just way too much money. What are some final thoughts on that?
Oh, I've never heard that. Okay, I don't know what I want to do. So do you want to go to college? I want to go to college, but I don't know what I want to do. That's usually my typical answer or feedback. And so what I tell them is, guess what? Join the club. Do you know how many kids don't know what they want to do?
I know I didn't when I went into school initially.
College days are the best days of your life. You're going to change your mind 3 times, statistically proven. And you're going to have mentors that are collegiate, they're going to change your life. And it's going to help you on a path that you never knew. You're also going to be well-rounded, and you're going to be a candidate when you graduate for jobs that students who don't have your education, you are now a step ahead of everyone else. Plus, you'll be able to see the world with different eyes. And then when you head into your career, you're going to have mentors that are going to mold you, and you're going to learn from them. It is the best investment. It's the best 2% of your life that you could ever invest. And that's what it is.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate having you here today. It was such a pleasure speaking, especially with a subject that it really is important to me, because higher education bettered my life, it bettered my family's life, and I just I really appreciate the fact that you're touching the lives of others. And I wish you well on your book tour.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you. Yes. I'll see you on is it March 11th?
March 11th in Omaha at Old Bookstore at 5 o'clock. And then March 20, I'll be in Dallas to kick off Home is Where the Heart Is book tour.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Phyllis. It's been a pleasure. And that's it for All Interests. Have a good night.